Stefani.
Scott Nelson.
Jim Baumstark.
Julie Moon.
And we're missing Dr. James Dolan this evening. All right, welcome back. First, I'd like to ask for a motion and second to approve the agenda.
Second, Stefani.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Now I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to approve the regular and executive session minutes.
So moved, Moon.
Katie, can I have a roll call?
Yes. Kamilovich. Aye. Baumstark.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Zupas.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, now we're to our communications section. Dr. Deli?
Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us this evening. It's nice to see everyone in the audience. I have a few different items I'd like to speak to tonight. The first is that we are pleased to honor one of our teachers, Zara Raza, who is a gifted ELA teacher at Hoffman School for achieving National Board certification in February. She became District 34's 10th National Board certified teacher, so we're very proud of her accomplishments. For those who may not know, the National Board for Professional Teaching Standards recognizes educators across the field who dedicate sometimes 2 to 4 years to improving themselves as professionals to best support students. In this rigorous process, teachers think deeply about their instructional practices, engage in critical analyses of their choices and how they reshape their approach to instruction. And they must, in the process, pass 10 assessments that are associated with the certification. Only 3% of teachers have earned this recognition, and so we congratulate Zara on this accomplishment. And I believe she was not able to be with us this evening. I just wanted to double check that we're not missing her. So we will give her a proper personal recognition on her accomplishment as well.
All right.
That's my first item. My second item is, as some of you may know, the executive assistant to the superintendent and board recording secretary, Katie Siegel, will be, this will only hurt for a second, will be retiring next month, and this evening is her final meeting at the board table. So we believe it's fitting that we give Katie a public thank you for her service to the Board of Education, to me, and to the community. But anyone who knows Katie, her service goes well beyond what you may see at a school board meeting. Katie is a longtime resident of Glenview. She's a longtime employee of the school district, spending time as building secretary in addition to her responsibilities at the district office, former parent. I don't know, maybe you're always a parent, but certainly a former parent. Serves her community in a variety of capacities, including local government, charitable organizations, strategic initiatives within the community, all of which has made Glenview a better place to live and work and attend school. Katie also has served as an advisor to many and most certainly a friend to all. And personally, Katie, I will miss your presence and your humor, your lightheartedness, your generosity in helping others, helping me to remember to do things, helping me and reminding me that I've done things already and that don't need to be done again. All of the things that are just so crucial in the unique kind of relationship between a superintendent and administrative assistant. So thank you for everything, and we do have something small that we'd like to give you. I think it's right behind me.
Is there if I say?
Huh?
It's okay if I say something about
Go
Katie.
right ahead.
So Katie, the board's going to miss you also. You keep us lined up, you keep us aligned, and you keep us in our place. We're going to miss you,
Someone's got to.
but we know where you live. And we want you to know that we're going to do our best to fulfill everything that you've tried to get us to be. So thank you very much. The board is going to miss you also.
Finally, I do have some comments related to the district's budget and staffing plan I'd like to share this evening. I would like everyone to know that the administrative team continually evaluates efficiencies within an already tight budget. This is standard work each year. It's important work to ensure that we are responsible and accountable stewards of taxpayer dollars. This process is more challenging in our district than for our neighbors. You may already know that District 34 spends the least per student than any other township or neighboring district, based on the fact that we are the least adequately funded of those districts according to the state's evidence-based funding calculations. Additionally, and based on advice from both CFAC and the Board of Education, the administration began to amplify its efforts to avoid the point at which expenditures will exceed our revenues, which we currently anticipate and forecast for 2026. Based on our work, efficiencies were identified in several categories, including administrative and district office staff positions, extended workdays, changes to activity bus routes, supply lines across the district, student service specialists, adjusting ELL student ratios, primary enrichment FTE, reductions within the technology department and the communications department. The identified efficiencies were arrived at thoughtfully and not arbitrarily. Plans continue to be developed to address reductions in FTE that in any way are related to students. In terms of ELL and bilingual, it should be noted that ISB recommends a 1 to 100 EL teacher to EL student ratio, while neighboring districts offer a 1 to 60 ratio. Our current ratio ranges from 1 to 15 to 1 to 21. This ratio allows delivery of support to occur mostly in class and through co-teaching. With the proposed decrease of 3 EL teachers, the ratio will range from 1 to 15 to 1 to 25, still well below the ratios suggested by ISB and our neighboring districts. Despite the reduction in EL teachers, all EL students will get the support that they need. Despite the reduction in the EL teachers, these services for ELs will not, I should say, do not always strictly adhere to a one-to-one service approach. Some students receive daily support, others will benefit from tools and scaffolds integrated into core instruction. Our commitment remains steadfast also in providing at least 1 EL teacher per grade level at the K-5 and 1 EL teacher per grade level team at grades 6 through 8. We will continue our collaboration with principals and EL teachers to strategically place EL students with EL-endorsed classroom content teachers and to cluster them based on EL proficiency level, offering targeted support via consultation, small group work, or individual direct support. Furthermore, we will persist in offering EL professional development opportunities during Wednesday late starts, institute days, team planning meetings, to use EL instructional scaffolds, thereby benefiting all learners. Additionally, we will seek as best we can to, at the point of hire classroom teachers who are EL certified. With respect to the reading enrichment, certified staff support all performance levels of students in every classroom. Above grade level enrichment is facilitated and sustained through our current instructional models. Specifically, the workshop model provides a structure where teachers can meet with students one-on-one or in groups based on their performance levels. When students are grouped by performance levels, more homogeneity is created for the group, thereby resulting in instructional levels matching need. Additionally, coaching support for staff will be targeted towards thriving students where enrichment of curricular resources occurs with equally rigorous instruction. Finally, and with respect to our student service specialists, students will continue to be supported through our very robust MTSS, our multi-tiered systems of support, which has been developed by the district. This is a framework that endorses a team approach when supporting student needs. All building staff are part of this system and continue to support students demonstrating various needs. Interventions will continue with existing staff. The framework provides consistent monitoring of student progress to ensure that our system is responsive to student needs. As with any budgetary modifications that are made, especially those that involve teaching and learning, we will monitor these changes. We will intervene if it becomes necessary and as appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Deli. All right, next we're moving along to our audience comments section. Anyone wishing to address the board can submit a comment card available at the check-in table and give it to Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Planning. The Executive Director will call community members who submit cards forward. As stated in Board Policy 2-230, public comments will be limited to 45 minutes. We have 2 public comment periods. The Executive Director will call community members who submit cards forward. They will be asked to introduce themselves and describe their relationship with the district. Please keep your comments at 3 minutes or less. And also, please know that any participation and clapping by the audience will bleed into our 45-minute window. And know that the board will be taking notes and will be in listening mode only. And an appropriate response will be given in a timely manner. We ask that you submit 1 comment per opportunity. Kathy, do we have any comments? Can I ask how many? 12. So we're going to let all those comments go, no matter how much time that takes right now, because that would be under 45 minutes anyway. Thank you very much. And who do we have first? Oh, I'm going to remind everyone to please try and speak into the microphone for those that are watching online.
Hello. My name is Kate Ahmed, and I am a D34 parent of a Westbrook 2nd grader and an Atia 6th grader. I have also been a regular volunteer in the D34 community for the past 6 years. Tonight I want to speak about the Reading Enrichment Program at Westbrook. While my son has thoroughly enjoyed this program for the past 2 years, we are also done with the program after this school year, so tonight's vote does not directly impact my family. Even so, reading enrichment has been such a significant part of my son's life that I want to advocate for it. When I asked my son why he liked reading enrichment, he said, "I like that I can talk to people." "What do you mean?" I asked. "You know lots of people in your regular class. You can't talk to them?" "No," he said, "not like what happens in reading enrichment. In that class, it's quiet. It's fun because our teacher can talk to us, and we can talk to each other, and there aren't any distractions." "And that wouldn't work in your regular classroom?" I asked. "What if you split up into groups like you do for math?" "Oh my gosh, that wouldn't work," he said. "Why not?" I asked. "The noise," he answered. "So many of the kids are loud all the time. It would be way too hard to focus and talk like we do in reading enrichment." I was very surprised by this conversation, as noise and "I like that I can talk to people" were not answers I expected to hear. But it made me think of how special and unique the reading enrichment environment is, and really that the environment is the program. A quiet room, a small group of students who are ready to be challenged at similar levels, and a teacher who knows how to engage 6, 7, and 8-year-olds in spirited conversation about language. As a parent, it's my son's excitement for writing, reading, and language that has stood out to me over the past 2 years. The number of times he's come home talking about reading enrichment far outnumbers the number of times he's talked about anything else. One example happened earlier this school year. "Mom," my son shouted as he got into the car at pickup, "today in reading enrichment, we started reading this book called Be a Perfect Person in Just 3 Days, and oh my gosh, it's so funny. Can we go to the library and get it right now? Right now. I can't wait till next week to find out what happens." It made me smile inside and out to share that moment with my son, and overall, it has been meaningful and memorable to experience this program through my son's eyes. My final thought to the board is this: with so many things going right with this program, I just can't come to a place in my understanding to validate changing it or removing it. The environment is the program, a great program, and one that D34 can already take pride in without changing a thing. Thank you all for your service to our community.
Thank you, Kate.
Good evening. My name is Arif Ahmed. I'm District 34. I'm known as Kate's husband. I'm the parent of a 6th grader at Atia and a 2nd grader at Westbrook who is currently in the enrichment reading program. I'd like to express my strong support for retaining the primary enrichment reading program. The district's hypothesis is that this program can be absorbed into the normal classroom experience and that this is an efficiency issue. However, testing of this hypothesis has not been done, and many teachers, parents, and students are concerned. Historically, I've admired that the district has utilized a trial format before implementing changes, including for new curriculum and new GEF pilot programs. In this instance, the administration has acknowledged that a transition plan has not yet been developed. With 6 weeks remaining in the year, it's not feasible to develop a proper transition plan for reading enrichment. My recommendation would be to consider retaining this program in the 24-25 school year while concurrently testing the hypothesis. The district could then solicit an honest assessment from teachers, parents, and students in early January as to whether a new structure could work and truly provide an experience that is consistent with its mission. This will also give the district additional time to evaluate other viable long-term restructuring, including accelerating the time frame to exit from True North. We can also explore whether equipping teachers with the ability to be EL endorsed, similar to Skokie School District, may create some additional efficiencies. I also believe we should form a task force to assess the benefits of enrichment reading and ability to absorb into the classroom relative to other potential cost savings, consisting of feedback from teachers, not union reps, parents, and students. I believe a continual source of frustration in this process, both from teachers and parents, is that teacher input has not been incorporated appropriately into the decision. Finally, we should consider a new referendum. As Dr. Deli mentioned, we don't get the same funding as other districts. I do believe that a new referendum, if modest in nature and clearly articulating the needs and benefits, will be positively received in the community. For simple math, property taxes in Glenview in 2022 were $187.2 million. Other things being equal, if the 18.8 thousand households in Glenview had their property taxes increased by 0.2%, representing an average increase of $20 per year per average household, that would generate $375,000 of additional annual revenue, which would support enrichment reading and more. I'd like to end with the following sports analogy. In 2017, the Chicago Bears had a hypothesis that Mitch Trubisky would be a better NFL quarterback than now 3-time Super Bowl champion Patrick Mahomes. They didn't have the opportunity to test that hypothesis, which proved to be incorrect. With regard to reading enrichment changes, the district does have a chance to test its hypothesis and gather enough data to ensure that we know to select Patrick Mahomes and not Mitch Trubisky. Above all, the integrity of this choice matters to our students who deserve quality, differentiated instruction that, per the district's mission, empowers all learners to aspire to reach their highest potential. Thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you for your comments.
Hello, hello? Good? Okay.
Hi, my name is Susan Pritchett. My husband and I are the parents of a second grader at Westbrook who has benefited greatly from Mrs. Rappaport's teaching over the past 2 years. We are disappointed about the proposal to eliminate the primary enrichment reading program, and we strongly disagree with the rationale behind it. The byline that I've heard and I keep hearing is that enrichment reading will be absorbed into the regular classroom experience, or even that it already has been. My question is, according to who? Because unfortunately, real life experience does not support that assertion. The District 34 classroom teachers are wonderful, but they do not have the bandwidth to manage the diversity of learning levels in the classroom. Teachers already leverage the small group instruction approach. This is not a new concept. However, differentiation within the classroom setting is not at all comparable to what enrichment students receive as part of the enrichment program. I spoke to my daughter, Emily, to understand what makes enrichment reading so special and why it's her favorite part of school. She said, in reading enrichment, we play fun, educational games, such as Stop the Bus. In Stop the Bus, we usually have about 6 categories, and we need to choose a word, starting with a given letter that fits for each category. For example, the category is colors, and the letter is B. She said, I enjoy the challenge of coming up with advanced words that no one else would think of. Emily also said in reading enrichment they do rebus puzzles. She says, they are fun because they give our brain good exercise. Emily also told me, we also read books as a class, and after we read a book, Mrs. Rappaport asks us gold questions. Gold questions are difficult questions that don't have a correct answer. As Emily's parent, what I hear from this feedback is that reading enrichment is intellectually stimulating and challenging for her. Emily told me that it is easier to learn in Mrs. Rappaport's classroom because everyone is working on the new skill or the extra challenge. She said, you get to learn other people's point of view and what they think. Again, as her parent, it sounds to me like the group discussion aspect of enrichment is so valuable because it challenges her thinking, which I think is amazing. It's amazing to me how much Emily gets out of her time in reading enrichment. Oh, I'll wrap up.
Can you wrap up?
Yeah.
Thanks.
It's only 45 minutes a week, but what it shows is that a short but sustained period of enrichment instruction conducted by a specialist and absent the distractions of the regular classroom is a powerful recipe. Attempting to replicate this program in every single classroom would not only be ineffective, but also inefficient. In conclusion, the matter before you today, I believe, is simply too important to rush. I urge you to pause, conduct the proper diligence, and explore sources of true operational efficiency in order to address the budget shortfall. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening, school board members. My name is Emily Ortiz, and I'm a 3rd grader at Kaufman School. I'm here to comment in support of keeping reading enrichment classes at the lower elementary level. I understand that the school board needs to cut funding, but has the school board explored other funding sources such as grants? Also, have they considered adjusting the teacher schedules so that one teacher could cover all the schools? For example, one teacher could go to all 3 of the lower elementary schools in a single day. Each school would get 2 hours of enrichment instruction each day, and even if each student gets less time in reading enrichment, at least we wouldn't have to lose the entire program. The teacher could also alternate between first and second grade instruction. The reason that this issue is so important to me is because I was an early reader. By the time I started first grade at Hanking Elementary, I was already reading chapter books, and the regular reading curriculum was quite a bit below my reading level. I felt very frustrated to the point that sometimes I didn't want to come to school. But when I started reading enrichment, my attitude turned around. I felt like I was really learning new material. Before reading enrichment, I had to work with the school counselor to help control my negative feelings. Once I started reading enrichment with Mrs. Melnor, those negative emotions faded. I've heard that the school board will expect classroom teachers to help taking care of advanced reading students in the main classroom. I think that would be really impractical. In my experience, it's hard to focus on my assignment when what it is different from my classmates are working on. Also, teachers are pretty busy already. I'm not a teacher, but it seems very busy. In D34, one of the top priorities is for students to be kind. Be kind to these students and find a way to save reading enrichment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Emily.
We are speaking to you tonight with sincere confusion and concern as to how decision was made to completely eliminate enrichment support staff and programming at the primary level without going through a district committee or soliciting feedback from our community and trained staff. In special education, we know support staff is needed for students that test more than one standard deviations to the left side of the learning bell curve. But for those residing on the right side, they too are multiple standard deviations from norm and deserve this mere 1.5 FTE allocated for district support. Not as an added job description to the already full plates of coaches, tech facilitators, or librarians, but 1.5 FTE support of trained and certified staff specialized in areas such as underachievement, executive functioning, and perfectionism of high-functioning children. Put aside how or in what setting this enrichment model is delivered, completely eliminating this role from the district assumes all primary children are fine on their own and don't need accommodations. A common, proven myth, particularly with 2E individuals. This small financial cut will create a big burden on teachers and students. The further one falls on either end of the learning bell curve, the more discrepant thinking is from peers and out of sync a person can feel and behave. All highly neurodivergent students require these intentional interventions to meet academic needs, but often more importantly, to help cope with their innate social and emotional intensities. By simply stating that our core literacy curriculum model is a highly effective structure for meeting the needs of advanced learners, where is the academic and social emotional data to support our population and subset of students? Moreover, where is the data to show that this method is more effective than the current research-based enrichment model? As a district, we take pride in supporting the whole child, advocating equity, and meeting the needs of our diverse student population. So how does this elimination proposal connect to our mission? With 0 supplemental support staff, we will decrease the amount of understanding, focus, and expertise working with this subgroup of children. We widen the Tier 1 differentiation gap, increase unrealistic expectations on teachers, and will ultimately provide a significant disservice to students. We are advocating on behalf of children who are often misunderstood. We ask that you please do not approve the elimination of enrichment support staff for our primary buildings, as they're an invaluable asset of direct support to our students and to providing professional development education within our district's community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. I'm Nanette Ross Meredith. I'm a math interventionist at Pleasant Ridge School, and I'm also the president of the Glenview Education Association. I'm here to speak from a broad general point, and my thoughts have changed slightly since the beginning of this board meeting. We want to make sure that the board, the community, and our membership understand that we would not advocate against each other. We will not do that as colleagues and friends and the people that we work with every day. So if there is a misperception or a miscommunication out there that the union is doing something to try to divide and separate teachers, that is not true. We value all. Everybody's job is important. Our support staff equally. If we had a perfect world, we would prefer you to not have to cut anything. But we understand when those choices are made, we cannot pit each other against each other. So I just wanted to take a minute to share that so that the air is clear and there is no misunderstanding about how teachers feel about each other within the Glenview Education Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Nan.
Good evening. I'm Sandra Bello, mom of a Westbrook first grader who is in the primary enrichment program facilitated by Mrs. Rappaport, and a Glengrove third grader who is in the English Language Arts gifted program facilitated by Mrs. Fishbane. I'm here to convey my concerns about eliminating the primary enrichment pull-out program as a result of the proposed staffing allocation for next school year. Per the report and per a meeting with Mr. Dorkin and Dr. Silverman, I learned that enrichment activities for next school year are proposed to be delivered through the homeroom reading and writing workshop, the LRC resources, the literacy coach, and the instructional innovation specialist. Although we didn't discuss all the details, I left with the impression that this staff is expected to organically react to the needs at hand, and no specific actions or recommendations have been made to ensure the delivery of the enrichment activities is a focused and coordinated effort that addresses both the academic and the social-emotional needs of advanced learners. Hearing the concerns expressed by the teachers of the intermediate gifted ELA program as well, I feel a well-intended decision is leaving an unintended gap on how the needs of advanced learners that fall more towards the end of the spectrum will be met without the support staff specifically trained on meeting the academic needs and managing the social-emotional aspects. I appreciate all the resources available to our students. We are fortunate to have a primary enrichment program lacking in many other schools. The recent increase in mental health issues highlights the importance of thoroughly evaluating the consequences of removing social-emotional support programs that provide our children with tools to navigate the constantly changing social landscape while our society catches up on adequate management and regulation. I know by experience the primary enrichment program contributes greatly to both of my kids being enthusiastic, happy, and highly engaged with school and school activities. My first grader was thankful last week during praying time for reading enrichment because, on his own words, riddles are his favorite thing. He hasn't stopped sharing, enjoying, and searching for riddles since he learned what they are. My third grader happily takes on any assignment from Mrs. Fishbane and shares with excitement what he learns in her class. Keeping a positive attitude towards the school is not a small feat. It is accomplished by the many amazing opportunities you offer to our students, and the primary enrichment program puts an important spark on it. In closing, I ask the Board of Directors to request a gap analysis of the proposed delivery method for enrichment activities pertaining to its effectiveness on meeting the academic and the social and emotional needs of advanced learners. This analysis should include the assessment and recommendation of the district's enrichment and gifted staff. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. I'm Geetha Chenareddy, mom of a Westbrook kindergartner identified as a high reader and is in a book club with 3 other high readers in the class, facilitated by literacy coach Mrs. Freer. One of the primary reasons we moved to Glenview was to live in a community with a wonderful combination of celebrated ethnic and socioeconomic diversity and a community and specifically schools that strive to make every meaningful opportunity available for their students. We are very grateful to all those that support D34 that reinforce that positive experience we've had every day. I'm here today regarding one of those meaningful opportunities, though. I'm here to convey my concerns about the reduction of the 1.5 primary enrichment positions in the 2024 staffing allocation plan, which will essentially eliminate the primary enrichment pullout program. Per the report and per a meeting with Mr. Dorkin and Dr. Silverman, we learned that advanced learners will incorporate the enrichment activities previously facilitated by the enrichment teachers during their existing reading and writing workshops. These workshops are facilitated by the homeroom teachers for the entire class of 20+ students. The current enrichment activities, as we understand, include literary analysis, wordplay, thinking skills, higher level questioning, inferring hidden meaning, making judgments, and creative thinking, which would seem to be most effective and impactful as facilitated group activities amongst learners that can stimulate and provoke thought with one another. But that will not be possible given that the homeroom teacher has to float during the workshop times to support all the learners in the classroom, including those learners who conversely need foundational support in reading. Between the effort to integrate these additional activities into the learning plans for advanced learners previously addressed by the enrichment teachers and figuring out how to support these workshops differently to effectively challenge these learners, I believe there will be undue burden on the homeroom teachers and most likely lost opportunity for the advanced learners to fully leverage their potential in the development of their literacy abilities. And as we understand it, this next school year is going to require significant focus of the homeroom teachers to support the new math program. So they will be even further stretched by needing to integrate literacy enrichment needs. Lastly, I'd like to highlight the commitment D34 made to the gifted task force beliefs published on the D34 website regarding gifted and enrichment student needs. 2 of the many beliefs published are: gifted students need to be with their academic peers in groups of appropriate size for an appropriate length of time with appropriate challenges to meet their education and social emotional needs. Second, it is a responsibility of the district to provide resources, staff, material, programs, etc., for the gifted students to meet their academic and social emotional needs. I'd like to request that these beliefs are factored in any evaluation on whether the existing core literacy program truly meets all the needs of the advanced learners. In closing, I request that the board and administrative staff more thoroughly and holistically assess the elimination of these positions and the elimination of the pullout program. If it's deemed reasonable that the core literacy program allows for the same level of advanced learner support, then I request that the administration enables ongoing formal structured support with experts in enrichment to the homeroom teachers to enhance their learning plans and approaches to support this advanced learning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gemma Fitzgerald. I'm a 4th grader at Hoffman Elementary, and I would like to comment on taking away reading enrichment. Reading enrichment helped me understand that I think differently than others, and nothing is wrong with me. In my regular class, I wasn't learning much. Without reading enrichment, I wouldn't have been ready for gifted or 3rd grade. Reading enrichment helped me make more friends because I could talk to people and who understand how I think. And I had a challenge, and reading enrichment challenged me in ways I could have never thought I needed to be challenged in. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, my name is Ben Carnell. In my day job, I teach here at ATIA. This year, I also had the opportunity to lead Learning Labs at Lyon in the evenings, and I'm here to speak for the extraordinarily innovative program at Primary Learning Labs and its profound impact on primary level students in the district. I'd like to begin by sharing some written communication from a few parents of participating students. Our son just mentioned how fun Learning Labs was today. We appreciate your help for him. Due to my son's immense growth, we love the opportunity to continue watching him flourish in Learning Labs. While he has met his goals, is there any way he can continue to take advantage of these services? I'm so proud of my daughter, clapping emoji. She's definitely making awesome progress, thumbs up emoji, grin emoji. So here's my perspective as a Learning Labs teacher and a site director, why this program has connected so well with first and second graders and their parents. Last summer, a team worked to revamp the after-school program, among them Allison Keller, Matt Vogel, Mandy Freer, and of course, program director Allison Dauenheim. The team decided to move away from a typical intervention focused on drilling basic skills. Their insight told them that what their students needed most was engagement, curiosity, joy in learning. All students have this naturally, but some learn to hide it after a little while in the classroom. Maybe they see their peers working faster and more naturally than they can. Maybe they hear a discouraging comment or two. Children learn to avoid those bad feelings, just like many of us as adults learn to avoid dancing or drawing because we don't like to face the shame of being not good enough. Such habits begin early, and with time they become ingrained. So the team of teacher leaders decided that Learning Labs ought to address this need. Our curriculum is focused not on skills, but on maintaining that joyful curiosity that all children have. A program like that, focused on lower performing kids, is not something that most schools in America are doing. It's a demonstration of our district's commitment to equity and opportunities, our belief that all children can and deserve to learn. This, I think, explains the joy and excitement that comes through in those notes from parents. To quote our strategic plan's vision statement, Learning Labs ensure that all students have access to comprehensive, authentic learning experiences. And we are still striving towards giving students access to that within the school day. So Learning Labs play an essential role in enacting our core value, providing equitable resources to meet the needs of all learners. And in the process, we've created a program that is quite different from what most schools in America are doing for their struggling learners. In the program, each trimester's session has been built around a key question: how do we play, how do we move, and finally, how do we grow, with the focus on emotional growth. Every day, students engage with those key questions in different ways. They read, they ask questions, they share their ideas. They create things, they share what they've created. In this way, they try out new concepts, words, and language forms. In my opinion, this year's Learning Lab is nothing short of a masterpiece in instructional design. It meets our diverse learners where they are while respecting their dignity, autonomy, and intelligence, meeting their needs for intellectual curiosity and emotional safety. I ask that we should continue to fully fund this program so that we can continue to lift up this set of learners in the same way next year and the year after that. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thanks for your comments.
Carlisle, sounds similar.
And you're right next to each other, too.
Yeah, exactly. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Deli, and staff. My name is John Carlisle. I'm the parent of a current second grader at Westbrook and a matriculating kindergartner next year, currently in preschool, but will be at Westbrook next year. My second grader is a current participant in the literacy pullout, has found it very enriching, appropriately, and in particular, the direct correspondence from that staff person and us as parents as how enrichment is going in those particular sessions has been really helpful for us at home. And while we think she has a phenomenal classroom teacher, the ability to converse directly with us or write messages directly to us about what's going on in that venue, we feel that the regular classroom teacher will be strained and won't be able to do that at the same level that the current literacy enrichment specialist is able to do. I'd like to echo the comments of the Ahmeds, in particular Arif, who mentioned the value of testing the hypothesis through a bit of a pilot period or a designed evaluation period. If there is any way to do that in the coming school year, even if it's not the entire year, but a portion of the year, with the staff being retained, which based on the agenda tonight and a later action item, it appears that that is the intent. So finding a way to marry those two actions and have a real evaluation of what works and what doesn't sounds to me like a sound way to go about making a decision. Now, if after an evaluation period and there's a report of finding out that one alternative is better than the other, then absolutely, then that it's reasonable for the board to want to make changes. But having a period like that seems vital. I want to applaud Dr. Deli's opening. I found it very informative about some of the budgeting challenges of the district. Mr. Ahmed earlier commented about perhaps the appropriateness of a referendum, and maybe that's true. But I wanted to comment on that from another angle. My professional specialty is community and economic development, and I understand on the cost side the escalating costs for running a district this big and broad. But on the revenue side, understand that here in Glenview, where I'm a proud resident, the EAV is growing because of the investment and development in the community. 2 TIF districts, as I understand correctly, have recently come off the books. So that's additional revenue to this school district and to District 225 as well. And I understand the complexity of what really off the books is, but in any case, they are ending. So in your projection period for revenue up through 2026 and beyond, those areas should be available to you. And then development that's not in those areas, everything from infill in certain areas of commercial, those have no resident impact. So those are things that are a revenue opportunity that I hope you'll consider in your forecasting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I am an EL teacher at Glen Grove, and I would like to share my concern about the plan to cut 3 EL teacher positions in the district. These teachers work directly with students, and their removal will diminish the quality of the EL program, as well as the quality of the general education program at Glen Grove, especially in classrooms where EL teachers are co-teaching with the classroom teachers. Cutting 3 EL teachers will mean that the remaining EL teachers will have increased caseloads and will spend less time with each student. It will also mean that we will be less able to differentiate our instruction to meet students' learning needs. Our students have a huge range of needs, from newcomers to students who might soon be ready to exit services. Also, we currently teach students in small groups based on their learning needs. With larger caseloads, we will have to see these groups less often, and we might have to cut some of these groups altogether. It's also important to note that cutting 3 EL positions will negatively impact the general education classroom. Many of us EL teachers are co-teachers and share responsibilities with classroom teachers. We've been trained to do this through District 34's Co-Teaching Academy, and we are proud of the work that we do with our partners, the classroom teachers. We co-plan, co-instruct, and co-assess. We know that as co-teachers, we are delivering a program that is much more than the sum of its parts. In addition, District 34 has invested in training us, and this makes us feel valued. Thank you. It will be impossible to implement quality co-teaching when EL teachers are spread across even more classrooms, and it's discouraging to be put in a position in which we can't do the work that we're trained to do. Finally, Glen Grove is a school where EL-informed instruction is essential to the learning of the vast majority of the students. My observation is that there are very few students at Glen Grove whose families do not have a second language spoken at home. And the languages here are diverse. 28 different languages are spoken by the families of current Glen Grove students. EL teachers bring expertise in how to leverage all students' language resources to maximize their learning. This positively impacts the learning of all students. Also, when we teach small groups of students, we often include non-EL students when their learning needs dictate. With an increased EL caseload, our most striving non-EL learners will also receive diminished support. This is my 2nd year in District 34, and I have been so impressed with the way that Glen Grove supports the wide range of needs of our multilingual students. This is the first time in my teaching career, which started in 1995, that I have worked in a school that has enough staff to differentiate instruction so effectively. We are able to meet our students' learning needs, and this is unfortunately extraordinary. This is evidenced by our students' high growth rates and their high EL program exit rate. I would be sad to see this effective program diminished by cutting EL teachers. I hope that you will reconsider this decision to terminate EL positions and see that it is not in students' best interest to cut these essential direct services. In fact, I believe that direct service providers should be the last place to look to save money. This is because it's where you will have a guaranteed negative impact on student learning. I hope that District 34 can find some other ways to save money. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is that the last comment? We will have another comment period also. All right, next we'll move along to our consideration of resolutions, our consent agenda. We have the 24021 personnel report, the 24022 payroll warrants, the 24023 vendor warrants, the 24024 all-town contract extension, and the 24025 Bright Arrow mass notification system contract. Are there any questions before I ask for a motion? May I have a motion and a second for approval?
Second, Baumstark.
Katie, may I have a roll call?
Nelson,
Aye.
Moon,
Aye.
Baumstark,
Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Supos, Kamilovich.
Motion carries. Next, we'll move to our consideration of other resolutions. Discussion and action. We have the 24026, 2024, 2025 staffing allocations. Mr. Dorkin?
Thank you. So the plan before you for your approval this evening has only changed slightly since the March meeting in the area of student services, as foreshadowed in my March memo accompanying the board's first read of the proposed 24-25 staffing plan. It's important to note that this plan as a whole, inclusive of the FTE reductions, does not lead to anyone losing their employment with D34, as indicated by the resolutions that follow in our agenda this evening. Also, it's important to point out that our staffing plan is always dynamic, not static. We evaluate needs as they arise and reflect on the effectiveness of our plan on an ongoing basis and make adjustments as warranted both during a school year and from one school year to the next. So we asked for the board's approval of the 24-25 staffing plan as presented this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Dorkin. Does anyone have any questions or comments they'd like to make? Diane?
I just want to reiterate the points I made at the last board meeting, that there are direct student-facing positions that are being cut that I would really like to see us take more time and try to find alternatives. I just think there are some positions that are completely invaluable. We've heard from staff, we've heard from the community to a great degree, and I think it's something that really deserves closer consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I guess a question on when we're voting on, there's total staff allocations. There's all the subcomponents in there too. Like, are we voting on a total which leaves open some flexibility? You just said it was dynamic. Like, does it leave flexibility to maybe consider some of the things that we're talking about, or are we locked in line by line when we vote for this staff allocation?
Well, what's before the board this evening would be what we're asking for approval for this
Right,
evening.
is it just a bottom line number, or is it?
Well, and all the details within. And then if something were to change, for example, an enrollment surge at a grade level at a particular school, we would come back to the board and say, we need additional staff to meet such need. That would be an example that we've had in recent years. There have been times when caseloads have increased in student services, and we've come forward to the board and asked for more FTE to support children with IEPs in a given building or grade level, things of that nature. So tonight, what's being requested for approval is both the total FTE in the 3 categories as presented, as well as all the details within.
Does that help, Jim?
Yeah.
Programmatically, it's also embedded into this FTE number. That's what he's kind of asking, I think.
Yes.
So the K through 2 reading enrichment program is embedded into this.
Correct.
Thank you.
So I guess just to feel confident, if you vote yes for this, like, I would like to maybe just hear a little more about I feel like there's a confidence level of, it's like a leap of faith that it's going to be just as, or, you know, if it's an efficiency, we're going to get a similar student outcome with the new approach. I don't know, maybe if it's something Dr. Silverman might talk to, but.
Are there plans to
Yeah,
judge the efficacy as we move forward of our new model that we're implementing?
Or just reiterating why we're confident it's going to be fine. Or not fine, but because it's going to work too, like, and judging the efficacy too. I mean, I'm persuaded by the hypothesis testing kind of argument. I'm a stats guy, like I like to think about testing and things like that, so I'm.
These programs directly affect growth of the students that they've been talking about. And I mean, that's where it's just hard for me to move on with it. This is their growth at risk and their future attitude towards learning.
So Matt may care to chime in, but what I would say in response to your question is that building-based teams are looking at student learning data regularly. There are benchmark periods of time where we look at it at a high level with standardized sorts of assessments that occur, but at the classroom level, teachers are working with children regularly, looking at their growth, their progress, as well as their interests, their affect, et cetera. So there's a challenge before us to make sure that we're still meeting the needs of students, absolutely. We remain committed to that. Programmatically, I don't know if Matt would have comments beyond what I'm sharing.
Opportunity to, if the board wishes to go down this avenue, then maybe on the spot right here, relative to metrics and correlation and causation, as a statistics person.
No, I wasn't really looking, I'm just sort of like what's the elevator pitch of why this is going to be okay? Like,
I think it's been discussed over the last number of board meetings.
Okay.
To discuss a statistical model right now, personally, I'm not prepared. I don't know if we want to go down that pathway.
Is it as, I mean, you're also trying to prove, not, sort of prove a negative too, aren't you? I mean, like,
It's
you're
hard
not
to
just
compare.
asking if
Or
the
is it like-
program's good, you're
We're
asking
getting
to
rid of
say,
programs that
if
have
it
been here
isn't
for-
there, is it going to be bad?
We're talking about getting rid of programs that have been here since before 2008.
We're talking about changing
Changing an
programs.
approach. that
Changing
we've used, yeah.
programs, right. So, I mean, we don't have a lot of data to compare. I'm just going to throw that out there. I mean, what are we comparing it to? We haven't done without these programs for so long that we don't have a lot of comparison that I know of. And if anyone does, I'd love to hear it.
I mean, it could be, I'm just thinking it could be as simple as, yeah, these other schools don't use a pull-out model and it's successful, and so therefore we have a reason
I can
to
tell you,
believe.
we've been tracking children in the single metric measurement, that being Ames Web, relative to enrichment only, not gifted, enrichment only. And we constantly review in quintiles the performance of children. But again, to correlate that to a specific experience at the receiving, we just don't do that, honestly, in any element. Our evaluation system's not built on that. If we wanted to go down that pathway, it would require something completely different than we're discussing tonight. But
Is there a way as we go forward to track growth in the higher learning students in grades 3 through 5 through the NEWA program?
For sure.
To see that we're maintaining the same growth levels
gonna
as
have
we've
growth
already had?
targets. Yes.
And they'll still have growth targets that they're already meeting
yes.
or
absolutely.
exceeding?
Yeah.
So there will be data as we move forward.
Yes, we have scores of metrics and data, but again, we on any one of our programs, we don't correlate or pursue a causation of A plus B equals C. It's because we deal with humans and children and SEL and all those other variables, so.
Data is also great, but I think we're losing intangibles. Enthusiasm for learning.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Or is there a motion and a second?
Actually, I have something.
Sure.
When we first talked about this a couple of board meetings ago, I think I said this is the latest in a series of challenging decisions this board has to make. And I'm glad that is an adjustment of the way we deliver this as opposed to a complete removal. And you know, I'm conscious that we don't always get as much public involvement in every board meeting, but at the February meeting, which was the Finance Committee's presentation, that committee, in fact, as it has every year for at least the past 5 years, went into a lot of detail about the challenging decisions we've made throughout the budget and the creative ways that we found to deliver on every promise that this district makes to the community, and do so as well as we can within, as Dr. Deli pointed out, a funding mechanism that is considerably different from those of the surrounding districts. This district provides return on investment, provides success on par or greater than surrounding districts at a 33% plus discount. But having said that, this is you know, we've been wrestling with these decisions, and we will do. And I think that's important for everyone to understand that we approach it from that perspective. And in that context, again, I am willing to make that leap of faith, partially because this is an adjustment in delivery as opposed to a complete elimination of delivery. No one joins the board wishing to do that, in a sense, to make that leap of faith, but we have routinely made that leap of faith, and we will continue to do so until we can address the revenue side of this district. So just want to put that out there, especially as the question of finances came up a couple of times. And again, that information is all up on the board's website from the February meeting.
Anyone else? I mean, to lean into what Dr. Deli mentioned, comparatively, Northbrook 28 spends $26,000 per student. They are at 171% of adequacy. District 27, Northbrook, is at $23,000 per student, 159% of adequacy. Northbrook Glenview 30, they spend $22,000 per student at 151% of adequacy in evidence-based funding. And District 31 spends $23,000 per student at 135% of adequacy. All those districts feed into 225 just like we do. We spend $19,000 per student. We're at 100% of adequacy. As stated by a commenter, our evidence-based funding formula also leans into our property taxes. Our property taxes may be high in your mind. We do not have the commercial base that everyone else has. We also had TIF districts that expired. Those districts expired, but those were make-whole payments, so we don't get the whole amount of the EAV. It was a small portion of that. That's budgeted going forward. Our revenue model is solid. We are not going to see much growth as we go forward. Infill is small in Glenview. If we want to spend more per student, it's time our community might want to come up and ask, can we pay more? So if there are parents that are committed to this, it might be time to form a referendum committee as we move forward. But we are trying our best right here to make sure we are not cutting programs but making efficiencies. The money that we're talking about for these two student-facing programs are a small portion of the $2 million+ that we're trying to eliminate from our budget. So as we move forward, this is something that we need to think about as a community, how we want to prioritize things, because it doesn't get easier as we move forward. And that's all I was going to say as we go. Does anyone else have anything else? Is there a motion and a second to approve the staffing allocations?
So moved, Kamalevich.
Second, Supos.
Katie, can I have a roll call?
Kamalevich.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Baumstark.
No.
Stefani.
No.
Supos.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-2.
Scott, can I make a?
Please do.
So I know that tonight's decision was not an easy one to make. We all received numerous emails from parents and teachers, and listening to all your comments tonight, asking for the EL positions and the primary enrichment program to remain intact. This reinforces my belief that this community is passionate about the students' academic growth and achievement. I thank all of you for your enthusiasm and engagement. Your opinions were heard loudly and clearly, and I commend you. Tonight's decision, however, extends beyond our own preferences. In an ideal world, like Alex was saying, with unlimited resources, we would consider expanding additional opportunities for students. The reality is, however, that we are resource constrained, like Scott put it very well. Due to many factors outside of our control, this district is headed towards financial hardship if steps aren't taken to reduce expenses and drive efficiencies. We've heard Eric talk about the structural deficit, which is a very real and pressing risk to our ability to pay salaries and maintain the schools for our children. It's not just our district that is struggling. Many employers in the private sector, as you very well know, are also cutting costs and driving efficiencies in a similar manner. My decision personally to support tonight's vote comes from a place of trust in Dr. Deli and his cabinet. This administration has successfully navigated the school district during very difficult times in the last few years. One cannot choose to trust another some of the time, but not all of the time. Trust doesn't work that way. Either it's there in whole or it's not there at all. I had several discussions as well with Dr. Deli and members of his cabinet, including Dr. Silverman, in an effort to understand the rationale behind the decisions they made and even explore alternative courses of action. At the end of those discussions, I realized that the administration's rationale was sound. Now, allow me to conclude my thoughts tonight by stating that this decision was not made in a vacuum. This administration is tasked with the well-being of anything and everything that happens inside our 8 schools. These changes, although unpleasant, are unfortunately necessary. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Vasilios. Does anyone else want to explain their vote if they want to?
No, but there's an hour-long discussion here about how the district came to this, which includes 30 years of history, actually 80 years of history, and decisions by the Illinois State Legislature. However, as we go forward, there's definitely a path forward that leaves us in a much better position. And if anyone afterwards wants to stick around, I'm happy to explain more about the way that this works financially and what paths we have forward, since it's something me and Eric and other folks on CFAC have discussed for over 5 years now, and as Scott alluded to, is something that the community may want to take up in the near to medium term future.
It does go back at least 20-plus years when ATIA, this building was built. As we've said before, when we had our last referendum 4 years ago, the community did not fund the teachers in that building. So we've been building, we've had 8 buildings with 7 teachers' salaries that we were able to support. And I do want to thank, I believe, Katie Siegel, you were on the referendum committee back then?
Yes, I was.
Thank you. Maybe you could help some people understand what we need to do go forward in your next iteration.
There you go. I didn't volunteer for anything.
Thanks. Let's move along to number 2, our 24-027 2023-2024 calendar update.
Thank you. So as the memo describes, 2 canceled school days due to weather required us to make up 2 days at the end of the school year. We are proposing those days be staff-only days. We have professional development activities planned for those days, and that would allow the student year to remain as presently constituted. So it's 2 additional days in June for staff.
Does anybody have any questions? Can I have a motion and a second to approve the calendar update as presented?
So moved. Baumstark?
Is there a second?
Second.
Kitty, may I have a roll call?
Supos. Kemilevich. Nelson.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have the 24028 action to honorably dismiss and reassign a teacher. Kevin?
I referenced this briefly in the staffing allocation comments, but this would be necessary as a result of the staffing allocation plan that the board just approved. This is the full-time tenured staff member being reassigned to a position for which she would have the proper endorsement.
Is there any questions? Or may I ask for a motion and a second?
Second. Baumstark?
Kitty, may I have a roll call?
Kemilevich. Nelson.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Stefani.
Abstain.
Supos.
Motion carries 5 yes, 1 abstain. Next, we have the 24029 action to honorably dismiss and reassign a part-time teacher. Same.
Likewise, this would be a part-time non-tenured teacher. We're pleased that we also have a place to reassign this staff member, again, consistent with endorsements and within the same school.
Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second, Moon.
Kitty, may I have a roll call?
Baumstark.
Aye.
Stefani.
Abstain.
Supos. Kemilevich. Nelson.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Motion carries 5 yes, 1 abstain. The next order of business is a motion regarding review of the disciplinary suspension of student 2024-01. May I have a motion to uphold the suspension of student 202401 as discussed in closed section and to authorize the superintendent, closed session, I'm sorry, and to authorize the superintendent to prepare and send notification of such action to the student's parents as required by board policy and the Illinois School Code.
So moved.
Katie, may I have a roll call?
Moon.
Aye.
Kemilevich. Nelson.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Stefani.
Aye.
Supos.
Aye.
Motion carries. Well, we come to our discussion section. We have our $11 million interfund transfer. Eric.
Yes, this is the second of 3 transfers that we've been discussing for some time. Mostly it's the board's contribution toward the construction work that's been going on. This will be the second, and we look forward to one more to fund the remaining balance of the work.
Any questions? All right. Next, we have the press issue 114 board policy update. Dr. Daly?
Yeah, basically the policies that are in here are fairly straightforward and explanatory. We pulled back one, right, Kevin, that we're seeking some legal opinion on before we bring it to you. So it'll either come as a one-off or we'll just hold it until the next round of policy adoption, because it's not time sensitive, correct?
And we can review those on our own. Correct?
Yes.
All right. Anybody want to discuss that, or should I move forward? All right, next we come to board meeting dates for 2024, 2025.
So they are attached, as you see, follows a similar model. We have, I don't know, Katie, you can help me. We helped tried to avoid 225 a bit, but not exclusively.
Right, we looked at 225's standard calendar, and they will be approving that in May, and there was only one date that we slid to a Tuesday, and also the March meeting was moved to a Tuesday with conflict of a holiday.
It was St. Patrick's Day. I decided to go to a Tuesday if everyone was okay with that. It'll be a long meeting, too. All right, good. Next, we're coming along to audience comments. Kathy, do we have any audience comments? Okay. Next, we have our report section. We have the number 1 FOIA report, the number 2 True North Board meeting report, number 3 construction change order report, number 4 referendum and expense report, number 5 monthly budget report, the number 6 current year financial projections, and number 7 following meeting agenda. Are there any questions about the reports? Next, we have other business. Is there any other business? Next, we have our adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you for everyone for coming and for our vigorous discussion tonight.